What's going on, guys? It's your boy Anthony alongside the best Big 3 account in the universe, Big 3 News, aka Will, back with another edition of the Fourth Man. And Will, I'm just gonna say it. I got something different today. I got a little wine because it's been stressful this week in the Big 3 community. There's a lot of news. It's good. It's just throwing me off. So let me just take a little sippage here.
Sheesh.
Oh, makes me feel a little better. Sheesh.
Sheesh.
Welcome back, guys, to another episode. It's going to be a fun one because there's just obviously a lot happening within the past couple weeks, but I think no greater news than this week. I mean, between what the Big 3 is doing from a league standpoint, and then the additions and surprises that we've seen from each team. We'll get into it, but first and foremost, Will, how you doing this week so far?
Dude, 4 words, man. What is going on?
I'll give you an extra one or extra two. What the hell is going on? I mean,
There you go.
that crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't understand. I mean, the alien news today and even like the Ball Hogs news was kind of a surprise. Just I feel like these guys are just like, I mean, we have a lot to cover in this episode, but so we'll absolutely get to all of it. But I don't know, man. I'm just like shocked. Like the Big 3 always surprises me. I always feel like they're either going left or right, and then they like, kick in like reverse or like, do like a 360, like tailspin or like something. But I don't know, man. This especially the last 48 hours or so has just been like, what?
Exactly. No doubt. We'll get all into all of that. But first and foremost, if you want to find the show or if you want to find our handles, it's at Fourth Man Pod, at Big 3 News, at @A_Siggy. If you want to watch the show, you want to see our reactions. Sometimes we get live reactions if we get news that comes up like we did last week. You can see all of that on youtube.com/fourthmanpod. And for those of you tuning in on Saturdays on Dash Radio on the Nothing But Net channel, appreciate you guys as always. If you're a first-time listener, good time to start listening because there's just a lot going on. The league is really coming, into its own for the fourth season, and this summer is going to be wild. So, well, normally I would say we should start light and then get heavy, but I just want to start with the heavy stuff because it's pretty nuts. Let's start with Ball Hogs because we had a feeling that Ball Hogs was going to have to come with some kind of revamp of a team this year. They've won 3 games in 2 years, and albeit their most exciting win, maybe the most exciting win last year in the Big 3 might have been their only win, beating Bivouac. They've struggled. They've had their issues.
Yes.
They've had a lot of talent. They've gotten screwed a couple times with Dusan Balut that we've talked about before, and then Jermaine Taylor injury, and it just hasn't been there. So they're like, okay, we'll change it up. We knew that Rick Barry was in conversations with Will McDonald, but outside of that, we didn't really know. We thought maybe Will McDonald could get a promotion. That wasn't the case. Brian Scalabrine will be returning as captain, but with 2 new guys to the Big 3, Leandro Barbosa and Spencer Hawes. A lot to kind of unpack there because that also means we won't see Deshaun Stevenson. We won't see Josh Childress, who's in his own right doing a lot of great things off the court. He's got a lot of good things going on. But just Ball Hogs revamped. What do you think of this 2.0 squad?
Well, I'll tell you what. So I guess let me tackle the Ball Hog side of that first. I think Barbosa's a great pickup. I mean, from a league standpoint, he brings in immediately like an international audience. I mean, he is like Brazilian, like hero over there in terms of basketball. And, we just know how crazy Brazil gets for soccer and all the other sports that they have. Beach volleyball, I know, is the other one there. So I'm just really excited. And I feel like Barbosa is just one of those players that everybody loves, especially in like those Warriors teams. Like everybody loved Barbosa. He's just such a likable guy. And I think his game really translates well. I mean, he's been the quality assurance or one of the assistant coaches for the Warriors. And Steve Kerr said in the beginning of the season, like, listen, if we get too banged up, I'm just going to sign Barbosa because he can still play. So what does that tell you? And I think Barbosa is an excellent pickup for any team, and especially Ball Hogs, for someone that was really in need of someone like that. I think Barbosa was a great pickup. Spencer Hawes, I was like, I didn't see that coming at all. You were a lot more excited for that than I was. I think maybe I was a little bit ignorant of Spencer Hawes. I guess he kind of just wasn't really in my radar. And then you were like, well, he's 33. 7'1", has a pretty good track record of shooting. So, and this is half court. And I was like, that is true. So, if Spencer Hawes is in shape, ready to go, I mean, listen, there's not too many 7'1" guys in the Big Three. And the other one was just named a captain himself. So I think, I think Hawes is a great pickup. And it was cool to see all the big names excited. Like I saw like Michael Carter Williams, like, oh, I'm going to watch the Big Three now. JJ Redick, Blake Griffin. I saw all these guys like getting hyped for Spencer Hawes, and he put out. So I'll tell you what, I wasn't excited about the Spencer Hawes signing. I'll be 100% honest. Like that didn't get me like
you
hyped.
didn't seem very excited.
I was just like, all right, like Spencer Hawes, like, okay, like we'll see how this works. But then when I saw that he posted that thing where he's like, I'm back, I was like, you know what? This guy is going to bring in a personality. Like he just immediately like flipped my perspective, because I'm like, this guy's hyped. He's ready to go. He's promoting that he's in the Big Three that, some guys don't always do. So, obviously he's amped up for this. He's ready. He's rearing to go. He's excited. So I'm excited. That makes me excited to see someone like him. To see him excited makes me excited, because that just makes me expect big things from him.
No doubt. I mean, 33, 7'1" with a jumper. You said it. And on the flip side of that is Barbosa, who's known as a Brazilian blur in a league where there's not a lot of help defense and it's a lot of one-on-one. And so guys are going to have a lot of trouble shuffling their feet, making sure they stay in front of him. Hey, I think they're good compliments. I've been a little critical of Brian Scalabrine in the past. Should he be the captain? You've heard it here on the podcast. We've talked about it outside. But hey, I got to give it to him. I don't know if this was his doing or Rick Barry's doing.
Or the league, maybe the league stepped in.
Maybe the league stepped in and was like, hey, Ball Hogs, we got to pick it up or you're going to get regulated to our league in the future. But
because that is a good question. And you did ask me that, and I still really haven't found an answer. Is like, what's the connection there?
Yeah.
Like Spencer Hawes and Scal, maybe. Those seem like two guys that might hang out.
And Rick and Barbosa, maybe, from the Warriors.
Rick and Barbosa, maybe. Maybe. That is true.
It's interesting, but I like it. I think there's a lot of good complimentary guys there, and with Rick Barry being in talks with Will McDonald, who I don't think gets enough credit for what he did last year because he was on a 1-7 Ball Hogs team. If they're able to get him early on, I mean, that could be really interesting.
No, Will McDonald was a fantastic center, and especially if you have a big man rotation of Will McDonald and Spencer Hawes, if Spencer Hawes is playing to what we expect him to be, that's like really good. That's almost like an embarrassment of riches.
Right.
From that particular position.
Powers big man lineup that they had, when they had Big Baby and Birdman. It's a little bit different. I mean, obviously.
Well, it's a much more traditional five.
Definitely. Someone who can space the floor too, though, on the other side of things. But I like what Ball Hogs is doing, and hopefully they can win more than 3 games just this season. I mean, that would be great. So.
That would be great. I mean,
a lot of talent coming in this year and an influx in the draft. So I think there's a lot of potential for Ball Hogs. I'd like to see them make maybe a little playoff push here. I mean, kind of expecting big things. I'm just, depending on how their draft is, we'll talk about it, in later episodes, but I would like to see that happen.
Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
So let's say Ball Hogs get, 3 picks standard, right? That we've come to expect. Although we will talk about that in the interview we have coming up. But so let's say 3 picks until anything's confirmed, 3 picks. How many picks do you think Ball Hogs have to? How many picks away is Ball Hogs from a playoff team, in your opinion?
All 3.
So you think they need 3? They need to nail 3 picks.
Yeah, I do.
They need 3 guys who are going to be like every game contributors.
I do. And here's why. First off, the credibility is not there. Okay.
Right.
Second off, they've ran into a lot of bad luck. I think you need some reassurance here just in case some things go bad.
That's true. I mean, you hate to say it, but we do see it every year.
Exactly.
Somebody that we're excited about gets hurt right off the bat.
And we've never had a blocking from another league. That happened to the only team that's struggling and believed. And then I think the third biggest thing is, hey, I love Scal. He's the white mamba for a reason. But someone's got to pick up the slack for Scal. And sometimes I don't think Scal is going to be a guy who starts. He hasn't been a guy who starts. Maybe he wasn't last year, but maybe not even the year before. So somebody's got to, somebody's going to kind of fill in the blanks here. I don't know if would expect Barbosa to necessarily be the primary ball handler. He could be. I'm not saying he couldn't, but I'd like to maybe see another ball handler in there. And if you add someone like Will McDonald, that'd be cool too. So, you know, that's just my belief. Now, I think they have a lot of potential. And if they draft one guy right off the bat in the first round, that just is really solid, I think he could work very well with those guys. But that's just my opinion. That's what I think. I think they're going to need to hit on every single draft pick.
If you take draft out of it, if you replace Scal with David Hawkins, is Ball Hogs a playoff team?
Yeah. I mean, if you add a MVP candidate from year 2 and a guy who seems to get it done every single season on both sides of the ball, yeah, no doubt. I think
so. From that logic, I didn't mean to paint you in a corner. I'm just sort of doing this myself. If Ball Hogs draft David Hawkins, they're a playoff team. In your opinion.
and that, you know,
that's just the value that you're saying that David Hawkins has, really, is what we're
exactly.
saying.
I'm saying this because I don't know exactly who's going to be in the draft pool. But I mean, first off, it sounds like Hawk might be back in the draft pool just based on what we're seeing, just in terms of the captain spots filling up.
Hawk is back in the draft pool. That
Right.
that I'll confirm on the podcast. Hawk will be in the draft pool.
Okay, so he's back in the draft pool. So I think he's the number 1 pick right off the bat. I don't care who comes in or
I would
not.
have to agree. Yeah.
I don't care. I don't care who comes in or not. And I think
unless you get somebody like crazy, someone that makes you say, "How is this guy not picked up as a co-captain?"
Yeah,
but I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I agree. So I think Hawk is that valuable a pick, but you also have to look at it too. Like, I don't know if Ball Hogs will necessarily get like a top pick. I don't really know how the draft order is going to work.
I don't know.
So unless it's like somebody like Hawk or a Michael Beasley, for some reason he's in the draft pool, or just anybody, on that tier, I think they're just going to need to hit on all 3. And but I don't really know who's in the draft pool, so it's early speculation. That's just my opinion, but I do think they have a solid core. They have a solid core.
I would agree.
Right now. You know what? You know who else has a pretty solid core that we're pretty familiar with too, and that's Aliens. However, that being said, we're a little confused on the core they have. So
many questions.
So many questions. So it was announced today that Aliens, had their captains in place. Now, we thought it was going to be Andre Owens who was going to be returning as captain. We thought Mike Bibby was going to be the head coach. Andre Owens said in a comment of yours on a post, or a post of yours in a comment, said he's got a big secret. And Big 3 releases today that Greg Oden's going to be the captain, and Shannon Brown and Brandon Rush will return as co-captains, which they filled that role last year. And that Rick Mahorn is going to be the head coach. So what? I have no idea what's going on here. First off, I guess the question is, I think the biggest question is, what happened to Andre Owens? Was this part of his big secret? I guess Bibby's not going to be coaching like we thought he was. Rick Mahorn's now on his 3rd team in 4 years after winning a championship year 1. I'm honestly speechless. This is one that I was kind of looking at my phone like, is that right? Am I seeing that right?
Yeah. Well, you texted me at work, and I wasn't on my phone. I just saw you texted me, and you were like, "What's up with Aliens?" And I thought like I was gonna be like, "Yeah, like they haven't announced anything. Like I don't know." And then I was like, "Well, let me just look." And then I read. First of all, I'm sorry, I'm not even gonna get there. I go to Twitter, and I'm like, "Oh, like the exact same reaction you." I was like, "Oh," and then like I kind of like digested it more. I was like, "Wait, where's Bibby? Where's Andre Owens?" And I was like, what the hell is happening? I mean, I figured Greg Oden would be promoted, especially if the pattern that we saw, but I figured he was going to be one of the co-captains.
Same. And I thought it was going to be. Well, I thought that Brandon Rush would come back for sure because Kareem talked about how he wanted to play in one of our prior interviews. I thought Shannon Brown wasn't going to come back. But
you didn't think Shannon Brown was going to come back?
I didn't think that, but then he was also on the website, still listed as co-captain. Clearly, the website is not necessarily the most credible thing right now because it's, a lot of pieces from last year and some pieces from this year. I mean, I just have all sorts of questions. I mean, and at first I was like, Andre Owens, he said he had a big secret. I was like, with everything that's happening unexpectedly, is he going to join like 3-Headed Monsters and take over for somebody?
Yeah.
We've talked about the connection him and Lane Stevenson had. They were playing a lot of pickup in Indiana this summer, or I think it was last summer. But they had a connection. I was like,
And
maybe
Jeff
Andre.
K
Oh,
name dropped him.
exactly. So I was like, well, if he's not bringing them to Aliens, maybe him and Lance are going to team up with Nick Young and Enemies. Like I just had a lot of theories, but now it's kind of almost, based on the comment I saw Andre Owens post underneath the Big 3's announcement, it kind of thinking that somehow Andre Owens might not be a part of the league this year, which be highly disappointing, seeing as he's one of the original members of Big 3.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That completely caught me by surprise. I don't know. I don't know what to make of this. I really don't. And if I just judging from Andre Owens' reaction, I mean, the truth only means something if the person who listening understand it. A man is the greatest project he will ever get to work on. Make sure you take your time and create magic. Success hits different when nobody believes in you. Hashtag salute. Hashtag Godspeed. I don't know how to interpret that, but that doesn't sound like positive.
Not necessarily.
Or like it sounds like he's like wishing them well.
Yeah.
But it doesn't sound like he's like, oh, like, all according to plan,
It just really threw me off because, I've been following him pretty closely. He's someone that posts a lot of what he's doing from a workout regimen and tags the Big 3. And, he said he had the big secret, and all of a sudden it seems like some kind of falling out might have happened. So it's really throwing me off. But I'll tell you the other thing that is I'm kind of expecting now, or just, I guess, gearing up for, is that we haven't heard the announcement of Enemies, Three-Headed Monsters, and that might be the only 2 teams.
That's
but if there's another team,
the wire.
But I don't want to guarantee that Three-Headed Monster is going to have the trio of captains. We think that would come back because some crazy stuff has happened. And I just don't know what to think with Enemies, who's going to be playing alongside Nick Young. So
well, can I tell you what? Can I give you my official prediction
for Enemies, or
for Enemies? Three-Headed Monsters. I don't know. We haven't heard anything.
Yeah.
I think Reggie Evans will be back just because the Big 3 just wished him happy birthday, and they seem to be like selective on who they wish happy birthday to. Like, so that to me means, and to be honest with you, like if Rashard Lewis leaves, I think Reggie Evans is your captain.
I think so too.
He's like he's been a top 5 player in the year. I don't think he would. I hope he doesn't, to be honest with you. But what was I gonna say? But anyway, Enemies prediction. This to me, it just signals that Deshaun Stevenson is on the way.
Oh, interesting.
Wizards reunion.
That's an interesting thought process.
Deshaun Stevenson, great guy. Everybody loves Deshaun. He was on Ball Hogs. He's like, listen, I'd like to go to Enemies. And they said, go ahead. So they bring in Spencer Hawes.
I like it. And then maybe Jordan Hill, because Nick Young, that was the first guy he name dropped.
Yeah. So maybe Nick Young, Jordan Hill, Deshaun Stevenson. That's a pretty solid trio.
Interesting.
That's a trio you have to be happy with heading into the season. I mean, I just don't see how Ball Hogs let Deshaun Stevenson go, because he's been a fantastic player for them.
Yeah, it's either he wanted to leave or he's just done with the Big 3, and I could definitely see him, maybe wanting to leave. I'm sure he's with Power year 1. They made the playoffs in the last 2 years. He's been with Ball Hogs. It's like, gosh, we can barely win 1 game. Yeah. It comes down to literally the last shot of the season for us to win 1 game. So I totally understand where he's coming from if that's the case. But wild day, nutty day. I mean,
nutty day.
Aliens is almost a whole new team. I mean, same guys, but it just seems like a whole new team.
Can I say this? Speaking of Aliens, tell me that Shannon Brown and Brandon Rush don't look the same. They have very similar faces. Like even in that graphic, it just looks like just 2 different angles.
They have, I think, like similar hairstyles too, and I feel like they're almost like the same height.
That's what I mean. Like same builds too. They look like the same dude.
There's some similarities, and I mean, Ball Hogs too looks crazy. Let's update you guys on one more co-captain spot that was filled that I think you and I are both pretty excited for because he's our guy. Been on the pod a couple of times. That's Dante Green. He got promoted to co-captain for Killer 3's, and Will, you called that one. You did call that one.
I did kind of call that one.
And, I couldn't be more excited for him. He definitely deserved it, had a great season. They wanted to bring the core back, and, Big 3 did announce that the core will come back. So, outside of Stack, obviously, being the head coach for Trilogy. But, just shout out to Dante Green. He had a phenomenal season last year, starting from game one where he hit the game winner all the way up to the championship and really made his presence known. Excited that he's coming back because he played in the TBT last year. So really excited that he's coming back. And he seems like he's been amped up for a long time to, be back in the Big 3 and try to run this thing back. They got their core back. I'm excited to see what they do.
I'm excited too. Until it's proven otherwise, this is a championship caliber team.
Yeah, I agree.
But, I just like anything else, we've seen teams in other professional sports make the playoffs and then just fall off a cliff the next year.
Well,
and a lot of the times is when they keep the core together and they're like, run it back.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying that's my expectation for Killer 3's, but, and I've been very adamant in saying this, Steven Jackson was the motor of that team, especially on the offensive end. So you're going to have either multiple individual guys pick up the slack, or you're going to have one guy rise to MVP contention. And to be honest with you, I think that could be a couple guys, including Frank and Dante.
Yeah, but I think it's going to be the former. I mean, I think we saw a lot of times last year where it was a team effort in the ways they won, multiple guys scoring, 6 to double-digit points. And I think that's going to be ultimately the best way they're going to win. I think, too, they're going to have to rely on Eddie Curry more. Bigs are very valued in this league, as we've seen. Yeah. We've obviously seen Greg Oden get promoted because he was a big prioritization. Spencer Hawes was added. Rick Barry talked about Will McDonald a couple episodes ago. So, and the first round alone, if that gives you any kind of indication what the big man means to the league, go look at last year's first round and go look at the heights of those guys. So, I think
look at everybody that was made co-captain that you pointed out.
That's true. Chris Johnson, Amir Johnson.
Chris Johnson's been killing it, by the way, in Australia.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that? Chris Johnson was
been
going crazy. So I'm like, do we need to keep an eye on Chris Johnson? Is Chris Johnson going to come shot out of a cannon and just if Chris Johnson's going to play like that, then you have to, I don't know. There's so many different scenarios that could play out. Every team. Are there any teams right now that we're writing off that you just completely write off?
No, not a chance.
We just sat here and we just said Ball Hogs have a legitimate shot.
We've never said that. No one's ever said that.
We've never said that. So especially now, because there's been such a shakeup and so much movement and such a period of time where there was no play, it's really like you're starting over.
Well, do you think that Chris Johnson, because he was the number 2 pick last year, do you think there was maybe a little bit of shyness in his game when he joined Triplets?
I mean, maybe.
I'm assuming, there was a lot of rave about him. Guys were raving about him at the combine. Do you remember that? They were talking about how well he was doing.
I don't know.
So he was the number 2 pick.
Keep it a buck with you. I don't really have a recollection of that, but my brain doesn't work that way.
Well, I definitely remember that. And I remember Oliver specifically was one of the guys that told us last year that Chris Johnson was going crazy. And then,
maybe I do kind of remember that. I remember Steve Blake too. I think I was so get somebody draft Steve Blake. I was forget Chris Johnson, draft Steve Blake. But no, I do remember that. Yes.
Well, all I know is he's got the bag. He's got pretty much any shot. It looks like he can score at all 3 levels at this point. But that post game.
And I will say disgusting. This too, to back up what you said. Triplets is a team that is centered around Joe Johnson.
Right.
So maybe Chris Johnson I'm not going to say. Well, I was going to say maybe Chris Johnson just needed more of an opportunity than he got in Triplets.
Didn't get to showcase everything?
Yeah, that's what I mean. He needed sort of a more – and Mike Taylor is a good point guard, and Ricky Davis he's a good catch and shoot guy. Ricky Davis doesn't need the ball in his hands all the time, and we know Mike Taylor doesn't need the ball in his hands all the time.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Am I talking? I didn't expect this to happen this episode, but I'm kind of talking myself into ghost ballers.
I think right now everybody has the potential to make a playoff push,
but especially
and I really love it.
That's why this lottery is going to be crazy in this draft, because imagine adding David Hawkins to that. Imagine adding, okay, this isn't me saying anything, so I don't know what's going to happen, but imagine adding Andre Owens to that.
That would be nuts.
That's what I mean.
Well, can we just talk one thing too, a little sidebar here?
Yes.
Aliens just came into the league in 2019, and they've already had 3 coaches.
Jesus Christ. Yeah,
There's
right.
a coaching carousel going
Oh
on
my
over
God.
there. So
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
hopefully Rick Mahorn can stay around and just kind of solidify. I mean, think about all the
Trilogy's
other
had like
teams.
5 captains.
Well, that's true too. Trilogy's just like, we just want to go 10-0 again. Like, come on, like somebody get us there. Anybody. And not to mention they've had 2 guys that were former players turn into captains. So I guess that's the route they really want to hone in on and make work.
I guess.
But we'll see. A lot from a team perspective. So let's talk about the league a little bit. The DC tryouts just happened, and there were 5 guys that were just named to the Big 3 Combine that are going to get an all-expense paid trip to the Big 3 Combine in Vegas. Pretty cool. Will, you posted the first ever Bring the Fire that happened. That was pretty cool. We saw a little bit of it just between a couple guys. I think one guy that was actually in that video actually made the Combine. But let's talk about the
Jenkins.
5 guys first.
Yeah.
Jimmy Jenkins being one of them. Andrew Washington, Torrey Fassett. I hope I said that right. I apologize if I did not, Torrey, and you're listening. Devin Sweetney and Deli Ojo.
I think Ojo.
Okay.
I mean, that's the Spanish, right?
It could be.
Like
I'm just going off
Ojos.
Pronunciation of what I see. But yes, those 5 guys, congrats to you guys. You guys are the first ever to go from tryout to combine. There's a couple guys I want to touch on. I'm trying to do my research a little bit, but also the Big 3 has posted a couple things that I thought are pretty intriguing. I want to start with Jimmy Jenkins because joined his IG Live the next day after he made it. And I told you this, but he's never played D1. He doesn't even play basketball every day. He's a big-time leader in his community. Really, I think he's like a role model for from his hometown. Not a guy who plays basketball every day, and apparently he just showed out. He was a guy that everybody in the DMV really knew about and showed out. Andrew Washington, I thought was really interesting about him. So I don't know if you ever heard of the league Fightball. It's like a one-on-one league.
Yeah, Dusan was in that for a little bit.
Yeah, so Andrew Washington won it in 2016, apparently. So he's physical.
That's all like 1v1, right?
Yeah. It's just 1v1 back and forth.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it might be more physical than the Big 3. I don't know if they're actually fighting or if they're,
I think it's basically like boxing with a basketball.
Right. But he won that. So physicality is not going to be an issue for him. Already a big dude anyways. Devin Sweetney is a guy, I guess, that was somehow involved with the Big 3, but overlooked. So he went through the tryout and now maybe he has a little bit more publicity or I guess made guys notice a little bit more with guys like DeMar Johnson and David Hawkins being there. That could be very vital. And then Torrey Fassett and Deli Ojo, I'm still trying to get the word out on them. I haven't seen any videos come out on them, but 2 guys that apparently also balled out really well too. So, I mean, congrats to those guys, but your thoughts on the tryouts as a whole. Do you feel like this was good for the league and this is something that they should continue to do?
Yeah, absolutely. It was just cool. I feel like because we knew a couple of guys that were there, so it was just really cool just to see like the videos that they were taking and the experiences that they had. I mean, basically, what I got from it, the structure of it was they were just running 3v3 open runs, and then guys were watching, and then guys picked like all-star teams, I guess. So I believe they picked about 10 guys to be all-stars, and then those guys played. Like 2 all-star teams played each other, and then through then, I guess either the winners of those games or just whoever performed the best in those games won the tickets to Vegas. So it seemed like a pretty straightforward process, and I'm just excited. I think I'm excited to see where this goes. I know I've seen a ton of people just from what I've seen a lot of people talk about Dallas. I didn't see a lot of people talk about going to the DC ones. Most people that I was in communication with are going to Dallas.
Oh, cool.
So I feel like it sounds like we got a lot of good talent out of DC. So I think Dallas is just going to be that much more competitive.
That's going to be nuts. And I thought it was cool too. They had different teams. So they had DeMar there, obviously. I don't know if David Hawkins necessarily had a team, but I know Deion Glover had a team.
Yeah, that was cool to say.
And so it was cool to see Deion still involved with the Big 3 and, some capacity. I don't think he's playing this year. It's kind of the vibe we got from when we had him on the show. But yeah, heard a lot of people going to Dallas as well. I think that's really where I think it's just going to be a lot more competitive within Dallas. It's obviously at Jermaine O'Neal's facility So that's gonna be an interesting time. I think
Is that tomorrow?
That's tomorrow. So actually, it'll be today when the episode drops. So
There you go.
It's
congratulations to everyone who made it.
Exactly. Congratulations ahead of time, and hopefully it'd be really cool to see one of those guys get drafted.
It would be really cool. I mean, we're gonna see what happens at this combine because, like you said, we have no idea what this draft pool looks like.
Yeah.
And I feel like if any celebrities are coming, it's gonna be to the Dallas one. I don't think we really got any from DC, at least not that I heard. We got a lot of like local like hoop celebrities, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
We got White Chocolate from the N1 mixtape tour. That was really cool to see him. I wish he was going to make it. I thought he was going to make it too. They were hyping him up like crazy on the socials, and then he didn't make it. But listen, it is what it is. You know, I don't know. I don't know what to say that. I wasn't there, so I can't really say. But at the end of the day, I just think it's really cool, and I agree with you. I would love to see one of these guys make it. And I think from the guys that we've seen, I think there's a legitimate shot.
Yeah.
For like one or two of them.
Not to mention connections help, and it seems like some of these guys that at least made it in DC have some connection. So
well, that's the DMV hoopers. That's like a tight community. They all know each other, and I feel like DeMar is like think about how good DeMar was. You know what I mean? Like think of how good these guys are, and these guys are going through open tryouts. And DeMar made the NBA, so you got to think about what DeMar is to them. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I mean, you also got to think, if guys like DeMar and David Hawkins, who have been good in this league and have made the NBA, think those guys are pretty good. I mean, that's a testament to the type of talent.
Compliment. Yeah.
A huge compliment. Speaking of drafts, there's also more news just in terms of the Big 3 draft. Apparently, there's going to be a super draft that's set for June 14th.
Super draft, no longer a draft.
It's a super draft.
It's a super draft.
You want an original draft? Super draft? Lock in.
Big 3 is not having a draft this year. They're having a super draft.
So Ice Cube actually told you this. You asked him when the draft would be, and he said it's going to be a super draft on the 14th.
Saying, actually, draft's not happening. But if you want to know about the super draft, June 14th.
June 14th, that's happening. So if you're looking for a draft, you won't find it. Super draft, you will.
Super draft, yeah.
They announced this coinciding with the fact that they're going to be partnering with the Caesars Sportsbook's daily fantasy app, Super Draft, who's going to be the official fantasy partner and draft sponsor. So going to be pretty cool. We now have a date for the draft, which a little weird because we're so used to it being after the combine. So used to being like combine and the next day people are drafted, but this year they're going to give guys a little bit of time to kind of think who they want to draft, give them time to evaluate. Super draft. I mean, we've said it numerous times now. I mean,
you want to play basketball? Go get drafted. You want to play Fireball 3? You got to go through the super draft.
What are we expecting from
the Super Fireball 3 draft?
From the Super Draft, what are we expecting?
Super 3 Fireball draft. The Super Fire 3 ball draft.
Can we get some shirts now?
Bring the Super Fireball 3 draft.
What? I mean, do we expect anything different? I mean, gotta expect something different. It's a Super Draft, but
it's the Super Draft. It's the Fireball 3 Super Draft.
What do we think of this? First off, we mentioned a couple times on our socials. We're going to be a gambling show now. We're going to lose tons of money on here. And
I can't gamble legally in the state of New York.
That's okay. There's plenty of ways you can gamble without saying you're from New York. Hopefully they're not listening on here. But we're going to give our picks, seeing as how we're pretty in tune with the Big 3. Hopefully we know our stuff. But I mean, guys are going to really be able to make us credible or not, or since how well we know the league, just based on.
Can I puff out my chest a little bit on this for both of us? Like, who knows it better than us? Like the players can't gamble.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
I mean, I guess they could, but it probably wouldn't sit very well.
I mean, that wouldn't really bode well in the super draft, but you can super gamble on it.
This is going. I'm just going to finish this. You keep going.
But so I feel like besides the guys who are actually playing into it, I feel like we would know it best.
Well, you would think, but I always
I
think
feel
I
like
know.
we'd be the number one source.
I always think that I know what I'm doing when I'm gambling for the NBA or the NFL. And sometimes that does go right, but sometimes it's the ones where I'm just like, let me just go ahead and see what happens. Like for instance, last year, we would have expected Bivouac to win and probably get into the playoffs. And if someone were to bet on Ball Hogs, but a rack on it, and they won, I mean, big payout there. Who knows what the
That's
odds would be
true.
for a team that hadn't won? So
That's
that's the
true.
fun part about gambling. But I think it's cool. I think that in the past, I've seen like a couple people talk about how their bookies do have the big three games on, but it hasn't been huge. So to now have like an official sponsor and the first ever sponsor,
Yeah,
I
and
think
it's
it's
daily
not,
too, right? It's like,
yeah.
yeah.
So I think it's not, I mean, I think it's not only good for the gambling world because people will gamble on like cricket or, like space soccer. They'll bet on literally anything that's out there that you can bet on. I mean, people bet on like the color of the Gatorade that people are going to pour
Yeah.
on you in the Super Bowl. So to have something else out there,
The
I think
Super
it's cool.
Bowl.
I'm never going to be able to say super without hearing super, the super something.
The Super Bowl. The Super Draft.
But I also think it's good for the big three because it's just such a lucrative, progressive market that it's only going to attract more casual fans to a league that I think once people start watching might get hooked on.
Do you have a gambling addiction? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Yeah, we're not giving out gambling advice either, so don't come to us if you lose money.
That's a fact.
We'll suggest things.
Can we legally not give out gambling advice?
I think if we have a disclaimer, I think it's okay.
We might want to look into that.
We might want to look into that.
Because I feel like there are gambling podcasts. There's entire shows.
Do they have
that
disclaimers,
built around
you think?
gambling.
Beforehand,
Like,
or
you ever been like on that ESPN like off channel that just shows like the money line the entire time? There's no disclaimer there.
Yeah. Do you feel like they have like a contract with their TV networks that
I don't
they're
know.
in partnerships with?
I don't know. I mean, you can't like, if I place a bet, I guess we could just make like suggestions.
That's the only thing we should do.
Yeah.
Or we're gonna have
I can't
some heated
force...
backlash. Yeah, I can't force anybody to click $50,000 and select on.
I can't force anybody to open their phones and go to Super Draft.
Wait, can we go back to the beginning? What we were talking about? Do we really like? Let's talk about Ball Hogs again. Like, do they have a legit chance of making the playoffs and taking it one step further, like maybe winning it all if they get like David Hawkins? Like,
you said that.
I mean, I'm trying to get your thoughts on it. I'm trying to feel you out a little bit more.
I don't know.
You're like that. You're being real submissive right now on Ball Hogs. So
I am. I really am. Because here's the thing, right? Like, I can only be very like bullish on so many teams. Bivouac's my team.
Who are you bullish? Okay, well, yeah.
Bivouac's my team.
Bivouac.
You know what I mean? Like, Bivouac is winning the whole thing. No, triplets, power. I've never said a negative thing about power.
Is Ghost Ballers like on
Ghost
the list
Ballers?
of fingers,
I'm starting to talk myself into. That's the playoffs right there. And whatever team gets David Hawkins, I'm gonna be like, yeah, David, that team's going to the playoffs too.
Yeah, I'm gonna be pretty.
I'm just running out of teams.
Let's be honest, we're gonna be pretty biased for whatever team David Hawkins joins. That's just a guy that we enjoy.
That's a fact.
I also think too, like, we can't roll out killer threes. I feel like that'd be highly disrespectful. So.
Well, right, exactly.
So the first 3 weeks of the season are gonna be really interesting. I mean, outside of the combine draft.
That first power rankings is gonna be crazy. Do we do a pre-draft power rankings once all the captains are announced?
Yeah, I think we should.
I think we have to, right?
I think so. Yeah, early indications.
Power rankings 0.0.
Yeah, and then we can look back on it and see how right we were, like you were last year's with enemies, or how wrong we were, like you will be with Ball Hogs. I mean, with another team.
Super Draft, the Super Power Ranking, the Super 5-3 Power Rankings, 3 Super.
All right, let's wrap this thing up. Appreciate everyone who's tuned in. We have an exciting interview on the back end of this, outside of the cool news that came out this week, and that's with our guy Frank Nitty, Franklin Session. he's a busy dude, but he dropped some interesting information just in terms of the big three, uh, becoming a captain, really just how he found out about the big three. I thought that was pretty cool. And just moving forward, ultimately what they're doing, I thought it was really cool on, he touches on some of the reasons of why he wanted to bring Dante Green back and the rest of the crew back, which I just thought he kept, 100.
Okay. I haven't listened to this interview yet. I wasn't there, so
Exactly. So
I'll take your word for it.
No doubt. So we appreciate everyone who's tuned in, and let's get to the interview with Frank Nitty. Okay, today we're fortunate to welcome on Drew League legend and newly appointed Killer 3's captain, Frank Nitty, Franklin Session. Appreciate you taking the time, like I mentioned before. How's everything going for you?
Appreciate you having me on, man. Everything's good so far. So far, so good.
Good to hear. Good to hear. Well, let me just start here because first off, you obviously got a lot going on. You just got back from playing overseas. You obviously got a family, do a lot of streaming. Rest in peace to the dude that ran you over yesterday. Saw that clip late. And then you were appointed captain of Killer 3's. So how's life, you man? Just getting readjusted to Cali and everything.
I'm just getting readjusted to, stateside time and restrictions and everything again. But it's dope that they appointed me captain. I didn't know what they were going to do. So just to, see that and get that recognition was dope, man. I thought that was real amazing to do something like that for me.
Yeah, man. I'm sure that's a huge honor. Congrats on that. You have a big summer coming up. Obviously last summer, the Drew League and the Big 3 kind of took a little bit of a hiatus. Now they're both returning. I'm guessing you're planning to do both this year, but, how are you kind of gearing up for the summer, getting ready? You obviously did super well overseas. So how are you kind of getting ready now that you're back stateside?
This year is going to be, I feel like this year is going to be big mentally and physically. I'm going to have to lock in mentally as well as physically in the weight room and stuff like that, and kind of just get my body ready to just endure some high level basketball, basically. So that's all I'm kind of getting ready for. Make sure I'm staying on top of all my yoga sessions, the stretching, the recovery, the weights. I stay on top of all that, then the rest should take care of itself.
No doubt. Okay. So had a pretty good season overseas from, the social media perspective that we have. Looked like you're winning some medals and trophies and some titles over there. How do you feel like that prepared you for this upcoming summer, just playing in that league over there?
We won 1 championship and 2 cups. So it just kind of gave me another sense of how to win, basically. I've done it stateside. I've done it in the Drew, we almost did it in the Big 3. I've done it overseas now. I just feel like, I even did it in college with Damian Lillard when we played. We won the Big 3 conference championship. So, I don't want to say I'm accustomed to it, but I'm accustomed to it. I know what it takes to win. And I know how much of your body you actually have to give up. So I've always made that sacrifice. I've always been willing to do whatever it takes to hit the dub. So I feel like this year is going to be a better winning mentality.
No doubt. It's just in some people's DNAs. I feel that. I got to ask you about the Big 3 because I know you obviously got a lot of history with the Drew and a lot of success there. And then you joined the Big 3 last year. How'd you find out about the league and what kind of piqued your interest about it?
How did I find out about the league? I actually was watching it. I was at a bar one time. I think the year prior. I was at a bar one time and I saw what was his name? Raul, how do you say his name? Mahmoud, him. I was at a bar and I saw him going crazy. he was going off for like, I don't know, he at least had 10 straight. And I was literally like in the middle of talking to people, and I stopped talking because like it caught my eye, and I was like, damn, that's a dope league, man. And then I found out my guy Corey Maggette was playing in it, and then I talked to him about it a little bit or whatever, and we kind of joked about it. And then the following year, they ended up making it. They dropped the age limit down and they made it to professionals. You didn't have to be an NBA player.
Yeah.
I think at one point you had to be an NBA player. Then they changed it to like professionals. So I don't know. I just genuine interest just started coming about from a little bit of nowhere, and then it became a reality.
That's dope because Mahmoud's obviously the oldest dude in there. So to like check on that league at our bar, just feel like, oh, this dude's going crazy. And
it was fun to watch.
Yeah, I think it's a testament too. I mean, in terms of just allowing, just professional guys to come in. I think that's a testament to David Hawkins, his second season in there, just going crazy in there. So, just shows there's a lot of talent, just outside your mainstream basketball league.
Man, it's going to be even like more talent this year, man. Oh my God, you got to be kidding me. It's going to be even, sorry about that. It's going to be even more talent this year. With all the people that I've heard are coming and that I've seen that people have talked about. So it's going to be fun, man. It's going to be fun. And it's going to be a little more competitive too. Because I don't know if you know yet, but you lose money when you lose now. So it's definitely going to be more competitive. Yeah. You don't get as much. So
for real? Okay. You mean so you get paid throughout the summer, and then if you don't make it as far.
No, it's not even as far. If you win games, there's an incentive. If you lose games, you lose money. So it's kind of it's dope. They made it competitive. They made it competitive as hell. Nobody's gonna want to lose, and the range of people that are gonna be in it this year, it's gonna be fun, man. It's gonna be competitive as hell.
Bro, that's nuts. Okay, that's sick. Before I take it to this year, I got to ask you about. I should take you back to the draft last year because we had our eyes on you as a prospect in the draft, and before the even draft gets going, they're like, "Hey, Al Harrington's not playing this year. Frank Nitty is going to be the co-captain." How did that come about?
The crazy part was, so I got to the draft. I was supposed to be drafted, and everybody was just talking about who they're taking and whatnot. I get there and Stack's like, "Go sit next to Oak," and I was like, "What?" Like he was like, "Yeah, we just made you captain. We gonna draft somebody else." I was like, "That's crazy." So I immediately just got snatched off the board right into like a co-captain spot, and I feel like that was a blessing, man. I feel like Stack and Oak and those guys knew that what I could bring to the table, and they just wanted to guarantee me a spot.
For sure. I mean, did Stack have like conversations with you before, like, "Hey, if you're on the board when we're picking, we're gonna pick you," or was it more?
We talked about it, and they talked that they wanted me. But I think until Al Harrington said he wasn't playing is when they was like, "All right, for sure, we're gonna take Frank." So I think it was they wanted me for sure. And then once he didn't play, they were like, "All right, we're going with Frank." So, it ended up working out. It was dope.
Nice. Well, I mean, obviously you guys had a good season. Obviously also not the way you want to finish, getting all the way there and coming just shy of that championship that you're hoping for in another league. But nonetheless, you get named captain now, and you decided to promote Dante Green to co-captain. You got Josh Powell back and the rest of the guys. I mean, first off, what's like the process of becoming a captain? You said that they just asked you based on, how you did last year and, everything that went well for you. But what's kind of that process?
I mean, it's kind of a players league. So they sit down, they have their meetings who they want to, bring on as captain or promote to captain. And then they ask you if it's something you want to do, to be honest. Because, like I said, it's a players league, so a lot of responsibility comes with that. And you get to basically pick your team.
and I was somebody who just got on. So the last thing I want to do is get promoted to captain and then leave all the guys behind that we made, a championship run with. So that didn't make sense to me. So I didn't look at it as a captain role. Like, I looked at it as, we a team, man. We actually bond and gel together and have fun together. So I included every guy that was on the team last year, and I talked to all of them, and I made sure, it was something we all wanted to do. It wasn't something just I wanted to do because I got promoted to captain on some ego tripping type stuff. I just wanted it all to be, organic, and I wanted us to all agree on the same thing.
And that's real as hell. I mean, I would expect nothing less. Just, based off me following you off social media, that's real as hell. I think that's super dope. I think Dante deserves it. I think you guys all got good chemistry on your team regardless. But that being said, you do got other responsibilities as captain. You got to throw your GM hat on there. You got one spot to fill. First off, how's your GM skills there? You got to test it out, gaming or, in the past, just picking people for teams?
To be honest, I was working some GM skills until they told me there's only 5 people this year. There's not 6.
For real? Okay. I didn't know that.
So, yeah. So, look, you're getting all the scoop today, man. So, yeah, they dropped the league requirements from 6 people down to 5 people this year. So, yeah, it's less.
Don't got to worry about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't got to worry about it. I'm rocking with what I got, what we had, and we're going to see what we can do.
Man, y'all are in a good position, obviously. We saw what that team could do last year. I know you're not really focused on other teams and what they're doing probably, but there has been a lot of additions. Some people took the same route as you, Killer 3's, and just promoted from within. Some people promoted just from within the league as a whole. They made a lot of new additions. That being said, is there any team that's made some additions that's kind of piqued your interest? Like, okay, they're going to be a team to compete with. I mean, even Ball Hogs out here, they've been struggling the first couple of years, but they just added Barbosa, they added Spencer Hawes. So, they're trying to make some moves as well. Is there anybody that's kind of piqued your interest just in terms of the league?
Everybody, man. All these guys are vets and pros and outstanding players, man. So every time somebody's added to a team, I'm looking at, what we're going to be going up against, how it's going to be played. So, yeah, I mean, everybody from Ball Hogs to Bivouac to Swaggy P's team. It's going to be – what is Enemies Swaggy P team?
Mm-hmm. I don't think he filled out the rest of his team yet, though. It's just him right now.
Well, I know a guy he has that he's bringing on. I'm not gonna say yet, but they're gonna be good. They're gonna have a good team.
Okay.
They're gonna have a good team, man.
Okay. Kind of wrap it up here in a little bit. Last thing I want to ask you, just in terms of Big 3, is coming off that run to the championship. What was the biggest takeaway from that? I mean, the loss last year that you're bringing into this year and just kind of, I guess gearing up, preparing yourself a little bit more for in order to make that run again and ultimately win it all this year?
I played 3 minutes in the championship, man. So I don't even remember what that game was even like. I just remember us being out hustled. That's all I remember in that last game. And like I said, I played 3 minutes. So that game I don't really worry about. I couldn't do anything to change that game from the bench. So, but I mean, we're gonna keep the same format. We're gonna go out there, we're gonna be gritty, and we're just gonna try to, get the job done as best as we can.
Yeah, that first game against Trilogy is gonna be a little weird, huh? Playing against your guy Stack.
Yeah,
and also him being coaching.
I know. It's gonna be weird for sure, but it's gonna be a good time, man. He gonna talk a lot. He's still my brother at the end of the day, but we're gonna compete for sure.
No doubt. I hope they bring that Trash Talker of the Year award back. I don't know if they gave that to anybody last year. They might have just gave it to GP because he's been winning that. But I feel like the trash talk's gonna be real this year, especially with the incentives you were mentioning.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be crazy. I think Stack might win it. I think Stack. He's got a coaching position. Nobody can tell him to shut up. Oh yeah, I think he's gonna win it.
Shit. All right. Last thing I want to ask you. I know obviously you're a big gamer, but if you had I don't know how many guys game in the league, but if you had a trio of gamers in the Big 3, you run Warzone with if your life was on the line? Who you thinking? Who you running with? The two guys.
What guys that play?
Could be guys that don't play, but I was just assuming that you probably don't want to run with dudes that don't play.
I would go with, if we're going trios, I'm gonna go with my guy Alex Caruso and my guy Montrezl Harrell, man.
Okay, two Lakers guys.
Yeah. I know they get down with the Warzone, so I'll probably run with them and see how we'll rock out together. I think that'll be
I didn't realize Montrez was on the sticks like that. Okay.
He is. Yeah, I was actually supposed to be going to help him set up his PC setup and his streaming. He's gonna start streaming. So y'all gonna see more of him too.
That's dope. Last thing, we're gonna see you in Vegas. Just kind of checking out, or being at the draft, being at the combine, or what's that looking like? You can be watching from home?
When is the draft?
June 4th.
The draft
Oh,
is
the
June?
draft. My bad. The combine's June 4th.
Oh,
But
don't
typically-
scare me. What's the draft?
Typically, it's the day after, but I haven't heard any announcement yet. So,
Okay. Well, I got a Costa Rica trip I already had planned, so I'm gonna do that. But my guy Josh Powell is filling in for me and gonna give eyes at the combine. So
that's what's up.
we gonna see what's going on there.
That's what's up. And Costa Rica is super dope too. You should check out Tamarindo. It's a cool beach.
Tamarindo. Got you. I think somebody else told me that too. I've never been, so I'm excited. I was gonna cut the trip short, to be honest, but then I was like, I've already paid for a lot, and Josh was like, "Nah, don't worry about it. Like, I'll attend it for you." So we should be fine. I should be fine. If I have to come back early for the Big 3 draft, I will, but we should be all right.
Cool. All right, man. I appreciate the time. Best of luck this summer. I know you're gonna ball out, and look forward to seeing how you guys finish this year.
Appreciate that, man. It's gonna be tough this year, but we're gonna see what we can get done.
No doubt. Appreciate you. I'll see you.
No doubt. All right, peace.
Guys, that was this week's interview with Frank Nitty, dropping a ton of truth bombs, a ton of stuff that, like,
Super
I gotta be
interview.
honest with you, it was a super interview. I'm surprised you guys, hope you guys didn't forget about that running bit. So we appreciate everybody who stayed and listened. I think, Frank told me about a couple stuff that honestly, like, shocked me when, like, you told me about it and just hearing him say it. So,
Well, now I'm even more intrigued by enemies and who they're gonna bring. So
yeah, I think, you know what? Spoiler alert. I think it's Deshaun Stevenson, but we will see. Until next time, guys, we appreciate everybody listening on their preferred podcast platforms. If you're checking us out on Dash Radio, if you're watching us on YouTube, we thank you guys as always, and we will see you next week.